It's okay. I'm going to kind of bring it around here to get everybody.
Trust me. You can sit. When I said come, just sure. Just be careful, but it's a little not so steady.
Not so stable.
Not so steady. You can sit. There's no reason you don't sit. I'll explain. You right? Yeah, I just don't want you to fall over. I've been at funerals where people have fallen over.
Face plant was not on the agenda.
No, or banging your head and getting concussion is not on the agenda either. Before you get back to Houston. I want to thank everyone for coming. You're welcome to move a little closer. You are welcome to sit down if those would like to sit. Pay tribute to Yosowitz, Esther Abraham. I know most of the people here are friends and family. I just want to introduce myself and explain how we're going to proceed this morning. My name is Rabbi Blau. I have the privilege of serving at the Rabbi presently at Green Road Synagogue, which was Esther's. She was at the Mamish Jewish Center all the way back in Lancashire. I'm only a 20-year person in Cleveland, so I'm only a newcomer to Cleveland, so I don't really remember that place, where she and Joseph were members, but we are the successor to that at Green Road Synagogue, and it is my honor to pay tribute to her this morning. What we're going to do is the following. I'm going to start off by doing some of the traditional roles of the rabbi, starting off with the chapter of Tehillim, a parak of Tehillim, a chapter of Psalms. I'm going to share some remarks based on the information the family was generous enough to share with me. As I mentioned yesterday in our conversations, I'm going to ask if anyone would like to come up and say a few words and reminiscences. You're really welcome to do so. It is the month of Nisan, the month where we have Pesach, so we don't do elongated eulogies, but it's really important to learn some lessons from a person's life. And I think someone who is privileged to live 103 years and have children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, there's a lot to be learned from. Although, again, I think perhaps many people will recall her vivacious, which is a fancy way of saying feisty personality, but we will get there in a moment. So let me start with the parak of Tehillim. Again, a chapter of Psalms. I'll say it in Hebrew, read it in English. Then I'll say my prepared remarks, and then I'll invite anyone who would like to just share a few thoughts. You're really welcome to do so before we do the actual burial. I'm going to start with parak of Gimel, chapter 23 of Tehillim, Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai roi lo exor, binos desha yarbitzeni hamemenucho yinaleini. Nafshi yishovev yankein v'maglei tzedek leman shimo, gam kielek v'geitzal maves, lo irora ki ato imodi, shifto bo mishantecha hemo yenachamuni. Tarok lefonai shulcha neged zoriroi, dishanta v'shem en roshi kosi rivoya. Aktov v'chesed yudefuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti v'eis Adonai liorech yamim. It's Psalm 23, a song of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God makes me lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous path for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. We're gathered this morning to pay our tribute to Esther Bas Avram, a Menoded sister, a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, a child of the Depression. And we all know, I just want to say, I know I look relatively young. I'm older than I look. So when I make different references, I'm not a 30-year-old. I've been a rabbi for 30 years, and I was not a child prodigy. I did not start at 5. So I am well aware, and many of my relatives went through the Depression as well, and that shaped their lives and really shaped who they were. And she, even though a child of the Depression, she, along with her husband, built herself up to lead a successful and moving and productive life. Born in 1917, one of 2 twins. Just discovered that it's Carol's mother. And David. Again, when I came to Cleveland, people warned me that don't speak ill of anyone else. It's never appropriate, and they're all related. And that is really true. So yes, I don't know all the relatives here, but born of 1917, one of two twins, grew up in Youngstown, Ohio with her 4 sisters. Times are very tough. It was a tough time growing up at that moment. She had to work at a bakery during high school and wasn't able to attend college. She married her husband while still in her early 20s. He was from Czechoslovakia and 5 years older, but they built a home together, raising their 2 sons. Initially, he sold fruits and vegetables. They lived off Lakeview, but eventually they went into the bar and restaurant business and moved to University Heights. They started slowly. The first bar was on 79th and Euclid, but they worked their way up, adding more bars and restaurants. Most notable was Wine and Roses near the Cleveland Arena. While her husband did most of the work, she definitely helped out. She was a vivacious and feisty woman who could tell jokes with the best of them. She was the socialite of the duo. She got them into ballroom dancing. I know you're going to say that was her one of her key legacies. Lessons with Arthur Murray, which she enjoyed very much. Her husband retired when he was 65, and they moved to Sun City in Arizona. Soon afterwards, he developed Alzheimer's, and while she cared for him, eventually got to be too much, and they moved to Leisure World in California. She remained there after his passing, where she engaged in one of her favorite pastimes, shopping. She loved bargains, and she particularly loved getting it to her grandchildren. I see all the grandchildren nodding their heads. She was sending things to you all the time. In her late 80s, she developed eye problems. After her car had to be taken away, it was clear she needed to be near family. She moved to Houston, where Carol's saying that was not an easy process, taking away your car. I imagine it wasn't. I had the same experience of taking away my grandfather's keys. It did not go well. It was clear she had to be near family. She moved to Houston, where she remained independent and feisty until about 5 years ago. Even then, one of the memory centers, she entertained the staff with her unvarnished opinions and her salty humor. The last year was particularly rough due to COVID. Even in-person visits had to be over the phone. In other words, they'd come, and they'd still have to talk to her through the phone. She became more expressive with her affection, which was one outgrowth of that time period. She was a supportive mother and grandmother who loved to cook. Apple pie was one of her specialties, and who taught her family to work hard and not to complain. Okay, I can only give the information I was told. Was I incorrect? Maybe you weren't supposed to complain. Okay. It's always an honor for me to try to do this well. It is hard. It's very hard. I did not have the pleasure of knowing her. She's been out of town for way before I got here. Hopefully I'm doing her justice. Her long, full life is now complete. May her memory be a blessing. Would anyone like to come and say a few words? Anyone want to say something? I see them different nodding, please.
Thank you, Rabbi. Grandma, welcome back, welcome home. Thank you very much for the apple pie cake recipe. Keep dancing, and thank you for the wonderful family that you've created. Love you.
We said a lot yesterday when we had our Zooms, and we talked about her life a lot and how interesting she was as a personality. The last few years have been pretty rough. I guess all of us wonder, at what point is life worthwhile? But, I watched her, when I would visit her, and she seemed to be enjoying herself, even though in my view, life was not a lot of fun. Being in a senior place, not many people, not able to do a lot of the things she was able to do once. But she always was, pretty happy, she entertained the people around her just, by her humor, by singing, by talking. She would at times, in a joking manner, threaten them if they brought her cold soup, or did things that she thought was disagreeable, and she didn't resist, telling them, what she thought, and they loved her for that. So, even though by our traditional thoughts of someone who's younger, this is not a lot of good living that she was doing. In her own way, I guess she was happy. So, who are we to judge? And I was with her the night before she died, and she was barely conscious, but she tried to talk to me a little bit. I was trying to feed her a little bit, trying to give her some water, because I knew all her lab studies were bad. She was dehydrated. And she was trying to say that she loved me. One of the interesting things that happened, this is very interesting, before her twin sister passed away, it was slightly after that, we learned that Marietta passed away. She told me that she had a dream that she had died. So I don't know what do we make of that? She had no idea, because I always a little resistant about telling her about friends and family that were gone. And but she volunteered that. She told me, she said, I had a dream, that I died, and she asked me, am I dying? It was very interesting that happened. But we'll miss her, and we appreciate the life and what she provided for us, and the love that she gave us. And all of you, thank you for being here, friends and family. It's nice we visit the cemetery so rarely, but it's definitely a part of life. This is inevitable, and so we take some solace in knowing that she'll be in a better place than she was in the last few days. So thank you.
Very good. Like to say anything else?
So, Grandma, if there's the biggest lessons that I'm left with from her life, is to just embrace, be present, and speak your truth. I think that's one of the moments for me that inspires the most. And for whatever moments, sometimes that was hard. That was a trademark. That was a trademark. And as my dad was saying, I had a similar conversation with some of the people that were with her at the end, and they said they learned so much about life from Grandma. And that is definitely something I take, is to really take on that piece of Esther. And she lived life with fervor and unashamed to be here, to say what she wanted, to say what she needed, to say what she thought. And I think that's something we can all really take on in this moment. Also, of course, her love of dancing. I have so many memories of when being young, growing up in Houston, where she would just randomly get up, where she'd be watching TV, and a commercial would come on with some music. She'd stand up and just dance. And that was just what she did. There was nothing else about it. And that's something that is such a gift, to just really embrace that I love to dance. Dancing through life makes life so much better, but also music. And one of my favorite memories of my daughter Emma, who is also a beautiful singer, when we would go visit her in the last decade of her life, that was one thing she never lost, was the music. And we would go, and we would sing songs with her. And that's where she would just light up. Like whatever she remembered or didn't remember, she would sing. And one of my favorite memories, my daughter for a while used to sing Secondhand Rose. And they would sit there, and my daughter would start to sing, and Grandma would just burst into song, and we would just, it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it's really interesting, because even though she wasn't a singer per se, how much music meant to her, and how music means to this family. So on that note, I just want to sing a little goodbye song to her, because that's something that's my gift, my father's gift. I'm not going to make it through the whole thing. I'm just going to sing a little piece of Adonai Ro'i, which is exactly what we heard, Psalm 23. And this is to wish her a peaceful passing. In a mask. Okay, let's try. We'll try. Grandma, this is for you. Adonai Ro'i lo echsar bino deshe yarbitzeni I'll menuhot inaleini nafshi yeshove yanheni bimaglet tzedek yanheni bimaglet tzedek leman shemo gam ki Adonai Ro'i lo echsar.
I thank you all for your beautiful remarks. At this point, we're actually going to do the burial itself. We don't say the traditional memorial prayer in the month of Nisan, so I'll ask them to come over. What we will do is we'll lower the casket. I will add a little bit of, bury a couple of clumps of dirt initially, and then we'll cover it with the vault, as we do in Ohio, and then we'll do the proper burial. And then the saying of Kaddish will be at the conclusion.
Everybody in a few moments have to step off the channel. You have a few moments, but I just want to forewarn you.
wine. I'll ask anyone who would like to come forward to come and help and they participate in the mitzvah of the actual burial. Two quick notes. Number one, as we're doing so, we're trying to cover the entire coating itself so that the chapter is fully covered. Secondly, we do have the custom of indicating our reluctance, even though we're doing this as a mitzvah, as a tribute. We're not eager, so therefore when you finish your shovel, you put it back on the ground rather than handing it to the next person, and the person takes it from there. But anyone would like to ask to come forward, please do something at this time. There's no order, just whoever would like to. going to read one more paragraph of Tehillim, and then we'll say the Kaddish. After the Kaddish is complete, I'll ask everyone here to just separate in two sides, so that our mourner can start walking through and start the process of comfort and consolation. But first we say the Kaddish. This is Parak Tet Zayin, chapter 16. Vichtam le David, Shemeni el ki chasi, Siva chamart l'Adonai, Adonai atar tavasi ba'alolecha, L'kdosh meshaber etzim avadi kol chaf Sivam, Yevu atzvatam achar maharu ba'lasik nisvehem idam, V'ba'lasar shmotam al tzvata, Adonai ben Oshka kiva chasi atatam li korali, Kavalim nafli bani mim avnach la shafra alai, Avarechas Adonai asher yatzani afli lo tisuni chel yosai, Shiviti Adonai legdita mi kvini balemot lochein, Samach libi v'yagel k'vodi abisri yishkon leveta, Kilot adov nafshi lishol, L'titein chatzit kol liroshaka, T'dieni orach chayim tzvas machodet fonecha, Nimos b'mincha netzach. So the Kaddish together. Yiskadal, Yiskadash, Shemei Rabbi, Yama, Tibra, Kurusei, Yamli, Malchusei, V'chayekon, V'yamekon, V'chayei, L'kol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, V'izman Karib, V'imru, Amen.
Hey, Shmei Rabba Mevarak Olam Omei Omayah.
Yisbarak, Yishtabak, Yisbar, Yitramam, Yisnasei, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shemei Dekucha, Berichu, Leila, Minkol Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechamata, Damiran, V'yoma, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, Al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Aseh Shalom Imramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Again, I just ask everyone to please, we just want to have a pathway, and you walk through. Amak Menachem Esvem, the Tov, Shavizim Shalom, may be comfortable to the mourners of Zion. And I thank you all for coming this morning.
And the other family and friends will follow behind the immediate mourners. Services are concluded, folks.